Hello and hello, welcome back to an Unofficial Take. Unfortunately, my co-host is not here today due to the overabundance of work, but I can happily say that Faith is most definitely here in spirit and in creative direction, because we had a very lengthy conversation about what we should talk about. But as in tradition, we shall be talking about sex ed and whether our opinions have changed about it. Our beautiful guest today is my best friend, Bella. So I would like to just talk about all of what I've learned, and our original plan was to have 3 people, but I feel as though me and her definitely can just click and have a nice conversation. So with that, let's get into things. Hello, Bella.
Hello.
Hi. So as you might have known, we did something about this earlier. We had a conversation, and so far, what life has been like in the past 3 months has just changed my perspective. I'm no longer an education major, but a religion major, which is extremely insane. But you know what? Life goes on. Times change. Insanity ensues. So I would like to ask you, what's your opinion on sexual education in the country? And I know you have many firm beliefs, but let's have a conversation about it.
Well, this is actually what I'm writing my human sexuality essay on, is like the problems with abstinence-only education in America, and how there is a direct correlation between abstinence-only education and increased pregnancy rates and STI transmission rates. I believe that we should have more comprehensive sex education. I think it's important for people to understand their bodies, how to stay safe, all of that. I grew up in New York and I received my sex education in New York. So while middle school wasn't super inclusive, in high school my school had someone from a clinic come in and talk to us, so it was very cut and dry, very explicit, like this is how to stay safe, this is how not, these are the various acts you can do, and this is how you stay safe in each act. And I really appreciated that, and like being so upfront about how to stay safe with students allowed me to know what to do, allowed me to know where my resources are. Like I was able to by myself go get birth control and stuff, and that was like a good way for me to protect myself. But I know so many women, especially like I grew up in Florida, so a lot of my friends from Florida got pregnant at 14 or have STDs. Like they're not safe because they didn't receive the education they needed to know how to stay safe. So I'm a firm believer that we as like American children deserve and have the right to like learn how to protect ourselves, and that our education should reflect that.
I completely agree. But as somebody who I am honestly just trying to understand at all points, there are some places where sometimes a comprehensive sex education just does make certain people uncomfortable, which I think is, while it might be ridiculous, it does make sense, because culturally certain times an abstinence-only education may work, but I think overall it just doesn't work for the entire nation or people as a whole, because sometimes maybe those like the abstinence only, or like the pledge rings, or you know what I'm talking about,
Promise rings type?
The promise rings to Jesus, or sometimes that works for people, but I think as a whole it just doesn't. And
I think like the model I really like is when people, like when it's inherently comprehensive and people have the option to opt out, because that still gives people the option, if they are uncomfortable, to make that decision without enforcing abstinence only. Because a lot of abstinence only education is deeply rooted in like Christian beliefs and the way Christianity is like involved in our political system, and I could talk about that
most
all
definitely
day.
I agree with that. Like, 'cause my final paper within this class, rewriting education, I mostly took the stance from a religious standpoint, from somebody who's studying religion. But the problem with it, when you put your entire beliefs in like the Bible or something like that, I took the stance from the Hebrew Bible, the Torah, from what I've studied so far, is it's so contradictory that you can't really base one claim, because there's the story of Esther and Ruth, a lesbian couple. But even now, if you take, yes, I know most people we know are gay, but it's interesting to see that even within that, there's contradictory tones, like in the book of creation, and like when my brain is cutting out, but when
Finals are coming up. It's okay.
Yes, finals are soon, my friends.
There's no pressure to be perfect.
Yes. So in the book of Adam and Eve, it is Eve that is the corrupter. It is Eve that takes away the entire purity of man, you can say. But also within the Song of Songs, it is the woman that is taking charge. She's poetic, she's beautiful, and it celebrates sexuality, because even the entire Bible, it's symbolism, and it's insane that we would even demonstrate, like we would even say, yes, this is this way, but in reality, the Bible's not always true, and it's interesting to see how people really say, yes, this is my beliefs, I believe this because a book says it, but we, even as people now, we say these things like, why believe that there should be a comprehensive sex education thing, because it's our times show that there are problems. I don't think that even if before the AIDS crisis, there was no need for a comprehensive sex education, but as times go on, it's something that grows. It's something that we really do need.
I think that's like really interesting when you look at just the way people's attitudes towards sex have changed over time. Like, America is known for being oddly conservative, given the fact that our media is like so sexualized, and it's like everything has a tone of sex and at the same time a tone of shame. And it was basically after like the sexual revolution of the 1960s that kind of started to change, and there was more like a push of like an understanding for sex. And as you mentioned, like after the AIDS crisis, after the whole it's killing off gays, once it started affecting the heterosexual community, people were like, oh crap, need to work on this. I find it just really interesting how people accept the fact that there are dangers, like you can like get sick and die, like people tell you that, but rather instead of being like, this is how to keep safe from that happening, it's just like avoiding it because of this like deeply rooted shame that's rooted in religion. And religion has to do with everything. Like, whether or not you believe in a specific thing, religion still affects you because it affects the world around you.
That's most certainly true. Yeah. Even I'm a Jewish woman, and I constantly question my faith, as most Jews should, really. Our religion is based off of questioning God, whether if what he's doing is really good for us or not. But like, I'm somebody who also thinks other religions are extremely interesting. As of right now, I'm really getting into the occult, as I've always have in my life, and I'm really studying herbalism, and I really I want to further my like diversity in beliefs, because I feel as though I'm somebody who I am polygamous when it comes to my beliefs in religion, which is very strange, but I think that there's no way that I'd want to just only believe in one thing, because if I only believe in one thing, then where is my grounds in mythology? Because mythology for me, it's just like, oh my gosh, Dionysus is the coolest of gods. But today in my class, we were like, maybe Dionysus and Yahweh, the god of the Jews, are the same people. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, because they're both heavy drinkers. And then I'm like, yes. But it's insanity that somebody would want to really say that, yes, this is our God, this is our beliefs, but in a belief system where there's so many different aspects and it's so contradictory that yes, you should not have sex until you're married. It's ridiculous, because that's rooted in the belief that women are like property of their fathers, a property of their husbands, and it's not really something that we should believe in anymore.
My stance on really like my religious my religion, Christian by title, because that's why I grew up Christian, but kind of more spiritual in my Christianity. It's less like I follow exactly what the Bible says, and more like I believe that there is an entity who loves me endlessly, and because I grew up Christian, I'm referring to him as Jesus and God, but like who's to say that that's what the energy goes by, but just like that feeling of like endless love that the Christian Bible says. And I always find it really irritating, one, and also just ridiculous when people take like the word of God, the Christian word, and make it hateful. And they're like, oh, you were like restrictive, because like, for an example, my personal experience, like when I first realized I was pansexual, I really had a hard time with that. Like, that was really bad for me. I was like, oh God, my family's gonna hate me, my friends are gonna hate me. And literally the only thing I had to fall back on was, at least my God will always love me, which is like kind of the opposite of what a lot of people experience. They're like, I was taught like that Christians will hate me and that God will hate me. It's like, no, I believe that my Lord loves me. And I believe that even if like my God isn't like the right God, I always think that religion should be a source of love. So I think it's very odd when people use religious texts to be like, what you're doing is wrong and you should be ashamed, because it's like, my God doesn't teach me shame, my God teaches me love and forgiveness. And that's like very weird for me to be like, you shouldn't do this, you should wait for this, because like no matter what I do, my God's gonna forgive me as long as I like repent. If I understand, or if I see them there's something that I'm doing that's immoral, I don't believe sex before marriage is immoral, because first of all, like, monogamous relationships and marriage is incredibly new. That's not what we did our whole lives. It's not that the moment we decided that we can get married, that's when God started existing. It's like marriage is very, very new, and it like came around the time of like agriculture, where we started sitting down and like making things. Like when we were like hunter-gatherers and we were very mobile, we didn't marry each other. We had like communities, we had this and that. So like monogamy and stuff isn't supernatural. I don't understand why people put such an emphasis on like, you have to be married. It's like, but were we always immoral and suddenly we're like, oh crap, we need to be these no,
it
like,
was just because of land and because of money. And even now there's cultures that are very like not even monogamous, they're polygamous, that they have communal, like whoever had sex with a woman, the father would be the father of the child would be considered the entire tribe, and whoever would impregnate, like, because you don't know who impregnated the person. And even those cultures, those thrive because that person in that person who has all of these parents has that support system, has that community. But even now it's wrong in our eyes to think that if you have more than one sexual partner that you're kind of ridiculous. But the entire idea of college kind of goes against that, because so many people I know have different partners. Even I've experienced something like that, but it's really just ridiculous that we even can have those ideas that no, you should only have sex with one person, you should belong to one person. But it's sort of ridiculous, although it's not really for me to have multiple different romantic partners, sexual partners. Yes, because it's great, and you get to really experience all these different things. You get to see, yes, I like this, no, I hate this, and it kind of prepares you for what you want to do. It prepares you if you do want to get married, and if yes, you do want to have children, then you get to tell your children, this is really something that I enjoyed. I think that you should enjoy it. But a lot of people just can't face the maturity of that, because sexual education really is maturity. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. And I feel like sex education, I feel like everyone should receive it at any age. And I feel like, of course, like, because a lot of people are like, oh, we shouldn't expose children to that kind of material. Well, kids are going to be exposed to some level of it at every age, even if it's like, mom, what is that? Like, people avoid that conversation. It's like, no, it is essential for your child's like ownership of their body to understand their parts, their bits, what's happening. Like, you don't have to go full-fledged in with your 3-year-old and be like, this is how anal sex works. Of course not. But if your child is like, mom, why do you have a big chest and dad doesn't, like, you have to have that conversation, because your child is gonna have not have an understanding of the world. Like, it's really important that you have these conversations with your kid, because like, if you don't, your child's gonna like not know things, they're gonna have these misconceptions, they're gonna have a sense of shame and like confusion, and they're gonna spread that. And if I think it's important that you talk to your kids, because like, the way I first started learning about sex stuff was through my peers who didn't know anything and were telling me complete nonsense, and it was like confusing and weird. And it's like, I would have much rather, and I like eventually had to talk with my mom, and it was like, of course it was uncomfortable, especially because my mom and I are very similar, can't take anything seriously, very weird, lots of joking that I didn't want to joke about. But like, it's important to talk about, because that's how you learn.
Yeah, even in my household, it's very strange, because I struggle with my sexuality with my family, because do I tell them, do I not tell them? Hopefully one day I'll be able to show them this podcast, but probably not, because my family's very odd. And I grew up with my parents my parents got divorced when I was like 4. So I always saw my mom as more of a parent than my father, because my father was never there. Yeah. And it's difficult to face like these things, because my father, like, after my mom and dad got divorced, my dad got into another relationship with a woman almost 3 months after, and like, they were gonna get married, and then it's just ridiculous. And then once they broke that off, my dad kind of went into the spree of dating so many different women at once, and I was just like, wait, is this normal? And in certain points, yes, but my father is a interesting person, to say the least. It's, for me, I always had such a strange interaction with my sexual thing, because my dad always yelled at me, stay away from boys, and now I think that he probably suspects that I'm not straight. He's like, stay away from girls too. And it's just, my family has always been, my mom's like knows I have sex. My mom is completely aware. Like when we had that problem last week, she's just like, well, did you learn your lesson? I'm like, yeah. Fuck people.
No, that's the problem. Don't do that. That was the whole problem.
Yes, that was the entire problem. But I think parents need to be open with their children, and the problem that America faces now is that older generations of parents are not okay with their kids learning about these things. But it's these problems that really spike different issues.
Yeah. So in my sociology class right now, not right now, we just finished reading a book called Not Under My Roof, which compared like American family dynamics and Dutch family dynamics with a focus on romantic partners sleeping over. And it's like, in America, parents are super anal. Like, I will not allow my child under the age of 18 or while they're living in my house to have a romantic partner sleep over because they're going to have sex, and that's not okay. But like the Dutch families are like, oh, well, if I know the kid and if they're dating, I would honestly why not? Like, sex and like intimacy and spending time together like that is like an essential part of like growing into adulthood. And it's like very, very weird because people act as if this shame and this like discomfort is like really, really natural. Like, oh, it's natural for me to like not want my daughter to have boyfriends. And it's like, well, why? She's gonna grow up, she's gonna get married, she's gonna have sex, she needs to learn. Why are you preventing it? Like, if you keeping your child from exploring things, you're gonna send an adult into the world who doesn't know how to handle things emotionally, who doesn't know how to have healthy relationships, who only knows, well, I should stay away because it's dangerous, but when I get into a relationship, I'm gonna be scared. I've never seen or experienced, like, when you're a teenager and you're dating, you have unhealthy relationships, but they're not, you learn from them. They're not like a big thing. But if you are not allowed to have a relationship, or you have to hide it and something happens, you have to internalize. You don't get to have that conversation with your parents where it's like, this happened, I don't know how to feel about that, because your parents can be like, well, why are you dating so early?
Yeah, even with me, I've always wanted to be in a relationship, and I've always had that need to be in a relationship, because our society is like, even now, our society is like, you are pointless if you are a woman if you do not have a partner, which is fucking ridiculous, because in the Bible it says that if our main goal is to have children, our main goal is to be the mother, it's to be the protector of our children. But even when we are trying to be the protector of our children, we are questioned, saying, isn't that the man's job? But it's ridiculous. And as a child, like, I've always been like, I want a boyfriend. And even now, I'm just like, I want a boyfriend. I'm lonely. But I don't even want one right now. It's just the societal need to have that feeling. And I just got out of a very long relationship. It was almost a year and 8 months, which I find is to be ridiculous, because I'm only 18. I'm turning 19 soon. Yeah. And when I ended that relationship with that person, he was just like, why are you hoeing around? And I'm like, I'm not really hoeing around. I'm discovering who I am. I'm discovering who I am. And I think the big problem is, once you move out of your house, you have this automatic freedom, which I felt. And once I broke up with that person, I'm just like, I feel free for the first time in my entire life. And yeah, I was questioned, and the person was so violent towards me. And he was just like, you cannot do all of these things. But I was just like, but I can. I am finally who I can be. I'm discovering myself. I'm discovering all of these different things. And I've come to the understanding that I'm much more of a realist than our fellow counterparts. And you are too. We are very similar people. But I think that we have had similar upbringings, but we are different enough where we can actually spend time with one another. And if we are away from each other for like weeks at a time, I think that we can definitely reconnect.
Of course. I
adore you. I love you too, Bella. But like, it's insane to me that, like, even now we know people that are just so emotionally unprepared for like all these different things. And it's weird to face these things, because you and I have had different romantic partners. Like, I've had different romantic partners at the same time, which I even now I'm just like, oh God, that was strange. And I don't really like that, because I want to give my full attention to one person, but then there's another part of me saying like, ooh, I want to give love to everybody.
Yeah. Okay, I'll talk about my relationship over the summer for a second. So I definitely had a hoe phase. College actually wasn't my, like, I didn't really have a hoe phase in college. Like, I didn't come here and feel free. I actually felt more trapped. like sexually here, because I'm from New York. In New York, you can do anything and no one actually gives a shit. Here, I'm like, oh fuck, it's kind of small. If I bang him, it's gonna be weird. And also, I mean, I haven't really, besides the person I'm currently dating, I haven't been very, very attracted to any of the guys on campus. The women on campus are all beautiful to the point that they're unapproachable. That's not the point.
Yeah, that's a huge problem. And
they're
it's
so gorgeous
anxiety.
that I hide. But over the summer, I was seeing this guy, and we were dating, and we were each other's main sexual and romantic partners, but then we both had two other sexual partners that we weren't, like, he had his dude and Emily, and I had, like, the people I was seeing, and then, like, Tinder dates and stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was fine for me. Like, I was like, I can accept this dynamic because, like, this is my boyfriend, and then these are, like, the other people involved. And, like, that was fine because we had, like, he was emotionally mature enough, and I was emotionally mature enough that we could sit down and have, like, difficult conversations. Like, okay, do you like them more? I just need to know, kind of thing. And it was, like, I think very good for me to kind of have that experience in a relationship that was really low pressure. We kind of knew that when school started, we weren't going to keep seeing each other. We had been friends for a very long time, had dated once before, like, and that kind of just led me when school started to being like, well, I know what I like, I know what I want, I know what I need, and I'm going to be explicit, I'm going to be upfront, and if you don't like it, well, I guess I'll find someone else.
I think even now we face these struggles. Like, I was in a 1-month relationship at school, and I was just like, this, like, even now when I look back on it, I'm just like, yes, there were some positive times, but that person just was not the person for me. Mm-hmm. And though I still like the person, but, like, I'm just now like, I don't really want to spend time with you because I see all these good and bad times with you, and I just overall not really compatible. And though we might have been compatible at that one small point in time, we're not really compatible anymore. And it took me a while to realize that. And, like, even though you saw all the phases, the sadness, the anger, and now the overall, I don't care anymore because it's the struggles that I had to go through, and it's just difficult. But
that's how you learn.
Yeah, like, and I feel like our society is just like, no, you have to wait to feel all of those emotions, but we are children still, but we're adults in that weird, like, transition where we have to learn these different things. We have to go through that anger. We have to go through that sadness.
Yeah, I see being a young adult and, like, a teenager as a really good time to explore, because it's not that things don't matter. Everything matters, and whatever happens now impacts you for life, but it is a wonderful time where you are not expected to do things by yourself. Like, if you go to your mom, if you go to a counselor, like, it's okay. They're like, you're still young, and it's a great time to be like, I tried this, it didn't work. You're very, very malleable. You can bounce back if you have the right support system, and that's great. Like,
most definitely. Even now, I think with my shitty, lack of a better terms, relationships in my past is just, I've had such an open conversation with my mother about it, because I really do view my mother as my best friend, which is very strange, because when I was in high school and younger, I was just like, no, my mom's the enemy, while my father is really a great person. But now, as I look in retrospect and I see all these different things, my dad is not the best person. Well, my mom's not the best person either. I see myself in her a lot, and I think with me, I've come to the understanding, my mom's not a villain. She's surely annoying, but same any parental figure. Like, you might love your friend's mom, but, like, when it comes to your mom, it's different. But I'm kind of just like trying to come to the understanding that my mom is probably my best support system, besides my besides like you, and, like, probably Gina and Corey and all of those different people. But, like, your mom is meant to be there for you. And I think, like, it's when you're growing up, it's so awkward to come to that realization, but you kind of are your mother, which is...
Yeah, I'm definitely my mom.
Oh,
I look like her, I talk like her, I act like her. No, I'm her, but taller.
No, I get that to that point. It's just we struggle that we become our parents, which we never really want to do, but I'd rather be my mother than my father.
Yeah. I very, very relatable. The further back into my childhood you go, the more of a motherfucker my dad was. And from a very, very young age, I had to, and my sister as well, my brother-ish, had to act as the support system for my mom. When my dad, he's cheated on her, he's done other bad things that I'm not going to say on a public podcast. But, and from a very young age, I was exposed to a very unhealthy romantic relationship that still persists. Like, they're much better now, but still, he's, like, kind of little shit.
Yeah.
And I feel like being exposed to that and being exposed to kind of, like, unhealthy, toxic, abusive romantic relationships from a young age can be really, really jarring, but it kind of sets you up with almost an expectation of that kind of stuff. And when you start to have romantic relationships, you inherently, that's what you're used to. And that's kind of what you seek out. So I've been in a lot of relationships that were unhealthy, but since I was so young, I had, like, my mom kind of peering over my shoulder and my friends, and they were like, hey, Bella, this isn't cool. And I've had many partners, a little bit, I've hoed out, and I've had multiple romantic partners that were, like, long-term. Each of my, like, relationships I consider serious have been at least a year. For, again, I'm 18, that's, like, kind of a lot.
Oh, most definitely, because we're so young, but, like,
that's, like, a huge chunk of our life.
Oh, yeah, because even me, I really didn't start actually dating until I was, 16. Then
I started dating when I was 11.
Yeah.
My first boyfriend was 11. Oh, wait, let me finish. Seek out bad relationships, but since I was able to start dating so young and have that exposure, I've kind of learned what is and isn't good and what I want. Like, my current relationship, of course, it's not perfect, but it's pretty great. I'm having a good time.
I'm happy for you, and I love you too. I love both of you.
I love my naughty son.
No, I love you too, like, extremely, and I see your partner as my brother, and I see you as my sister, and I love you. I love you. And we've even had, like, weird relationship things, but I think
it's not weird.
No, it's not really weird because we're both.
It's because it's us.
Yeah, we are very similar human beings, and I really enjoy that. But even I started dating, like, at what I consider to be a young age. I really dated somebody when I was 13, and then I didn't really seriously start dating somebody until I was, oh God. There's something consistently what I've noticed with all of my serious romantic partners is that I've gone to Renaissance fairs with them, which is not really relevant.
Never been to Renaissance. We were supposed to go.
I know. We are going next year.
Yeah, no,
but, like,
no shit.
Yeah, but it's just an odd theme with them. But it's not something really relevant to this podcast, but we always seek out the same things in our relationship. But now that I'm growing, I'm just like, I don't want to be a child anymore. And even now, I'm like, I want to be an adult to the point where it's kind of unhealthy. Like, I constantly crave to be 30 because when I'm 30, I see, this is
your shit together.
Yeah, but even now, I'm just like, I'm probably not going to have my shit together until I'm like 50 because my mom doesn't have her shit together. My father most certainly doesn't have their shit together. And it's just weird. But, like, when it relates back to sexual education, we should teach our children it's normal to be scared. It's normal to have all these different conflicting feelings. It's normal to be gay. It's normal to be straight. It's normal to have all these different identities, like even like gender identity. Like I'm a person who doesn't really conform to really anything. Like, sure, I go through stages of I'm a pretty princess, but then I'm like, I am the gallant knight.
I've been
You never know what you are.
I've been going through some weird, like, I don't know what's up. Yeah. But I have a bad habit of when it comes to my gender identity and being like, I feel different today, being like, interesting. Gonna ignore that. Moving on just because I'm full of shit.
But you never know who you are until you're not that person anymore. Like, you can constantly have conflicting things because sometimes I'm like, am I straight? And then I'm like, no, I'm not. But, like, and then sometimes I have these feelings, I'm strictly a woman or am I strictly a man? But it's these different things. And I don't think I will fully know until I'm dead.
Yeah, I mean, your identity is always changing. People are incredibly fluid, and, like, there's this weird expectation for you to know who you are, to be that person for your life. What are you going to do? Who are you going to be? Who are you going to marry? And it's like, I don't fucking know, dude. Like, what?
No, it's fine.
Okay. But, like, I don't know, and I feel like gender and sexuality are, like, two of the most fluid things, like, because they're always changing based on, like different types of identities, like what terminology can help, like, dictate, like, I feel actually more like this than like that. Who you're exposed to, like, what you've been taught is and isn't okay, because you can repress things within yourself. You can ignore feelings and just, like, live your whole life like that. But if you in school are taught, if you feel like that, that's okay. No one expects you to know who you are yet. That can be so relieving. Like, just being like, hey, You can like boys, you can like girls. There's people who aren't boys or girls. You can like them too. That's okay. If I heard that shit when I was 12 from my teacher, I would be like, oh, thank fucking God. Because I didn't hear it at home.
Oh, no.
It would have been so nice.
There's a story, which I think we went over in the last one, but genuinely I can't remember, where in my health class, I think I was in 6th grade, my teacher did something so harmful to this point where I can still remember it. Even I repress most things from my childhood, but she took a piece of sticky tape and she put it on her finger and she had each of us touch it. And she said, every time you have sex with somebody, you feel how worthless it gets after a point. That's how she compared a woman to a piece of tape.
That's
extremely
a big yikes. I mean, I remember feeling my worth almost like a video game HP go down every time I got fucked. Like, I could feel it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's, oh God, that's stupid. That was a joke. I'm very valuable.
Because you are extremely valuable and you are extremely loved. And we love you to no end. But, like, it's these harmful things that we're taught as children.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But I think with that, I'd like to ask the listeners, to whomever you might be, I think I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel, which I have 6 subscribers. Subscribe to me. I'm a very valuable human being, where you can listen to my weird thought process as I slowly turn into a human being, which I may or may not be. I don't know. Whatever.
Probably like a little bit.
Oh, probably a little bit. Until then, I don't think anybody's fully considered human until they die, but that's just my own personal beliefs.
When do I consider someone to be a human? I think someone's a human when they are able to have, like, compassion for others.
Oh, yeah,
first and foremost.
Then all of my exes are not. Yeet. But, I'd like to really leave it open and definitely send us an email. Like, my email is reneegrubler@gmail.com. You can spell it as
the way it sounds.
Yeah, the way it sounds, which you probably will not, unless you're a New Yorker. I don't think you're going to be able to spell it right.
It's RENEEGRUBLER, right?
Yes, but like certain people don't really understand the U instead of the OO. People
for Gru?
Yeah, people.
That would look so funny.
I know it would look funny, but send me an email and tell me what you think, because I feel like we should leave the floor open to this conversation, because it is a conversation. It shouldn't be an argument. It shouldn't be like, these are my beliefs, these are your beliefs, so why don't we just come together and say, yes, there are problems with what we're taught, but I feel like we should teach these different things, maybe instead of in a health class, in a history class.
History of sex. Ooh.
I know. Ooh. Next podcast, next time, maybe we should talk about that. But in final words, I'd really like to thank my professor, Eric Marshall. You really, overall, mind-changing human being. I'd like to thank you. I'd love to thank my beautiful partner, Faith Freeman, who could not be here today, but who is here in mind and spirit and in the editing process with me grueling over this in my last... Well, we should have done this a while ago, but we are procrastinators, but most college students are. And I'd like to thank Bella, and I'd like to thank myself for doing this shit.
I would also like to thank you.
Yes.
This was fun.
Thank you. I'm sure we will do this even though it's no longer a class assignment. But yes, as time flies by, we will grow, we will change, our beliefs will change. Like, I never thought I'd believe in God once more, but I think I believe in something that may not be the traditional, I am man God, but...
I mean, God is a woman, so...
Oh, yes, I do fully kind of believe that. You know how spiteful our God is? It's insane. No man can feel that. No man can feel that spitefulness.
It's a spitefulness. It's a feeling that only can come from being fucked over by men.
Yes, but...
The way we're fucking over our planet.
Yes, but you know what? This is an entirely different conversation, but... Feel free to keep the conversation open. I'm more than happy to hear what you have to say, just not in aggressive tones, because in aggressive tones that only creates arguments. But
also, aggressive tones often are like when people take a really aggressive stance, it's because they're not fully educated on the topic.
Yeah, no, and I'd like to educate one another. And though this may be my belief, it's okay to have a different belief, because it's not every person is the same. Not every person believes the same thing. And I think that it's important to say, yes, that's okay. If you believe in abstinence-only education, tell me why. And I'd love to have a conversation with you. We don't have to end up agreeing on the topic in the end, but I want to know why, because it's not who I am, but I respect who you are, because life is not about having arguments, it's about having conversations. And with that, I'd like to say thank you, listener and reader. If somebody would like to transcribe all of that, that would be phenomenal.
How are they going to transcribe me in the background being like
subtext?
In the distance, Bella cleans her nose and snorts and laughs.
Yes, well,
essential content.
And Courtney, my beautiful roommate, does her homework.
Love you, Courtney. click in the distance. These bitches won't stop talking about sex. I need to write my essay. Period. Exclamation point.
Yes, but with that, I'd like to say thank you, because we've already hit the 35-minute mark.
Oh shit!
Yes. Well, thank you so much, my fellow education majors. And
you weren't an education major anymore, right?
No, we're all education majors, because we're all learning, and we're all learning how to teach one another about things. Yes, crazy. But thank you so much for our ramble, even at the end. And I will leave this in because people do ramble and it's natural. But you know what? Thank you so much. I hope that we will one day have a conversation. One day it is my dream to just talk to people about this and be a lecturer. But until then, you will hear me be annoying about this. So thank you and good night, because I assume you're listening to this at night, because it's just a fun thing to say. So thank you and good night.
Nap, so good night.
Oh, me too. Good night. We are in my bed right now just having a conversation because it's comfortable. So thank you and good night, my fellow friends.